Hello and welcome to Dorks on Sports, a podcast about four dorks talking about sports. My name is Daniel. Joining me as always is Curtis. How are you feeling over there, Curtis?
I'm on the mend. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better than the Seahawks run defense.
Your voice doesn't have like that sexy growl it did last week.
No, it's gone back to that weird Norm Donald thing that I have.
Right. You look good.
Yeah.
Allanah, what's going on?
Not much, just doing the thing.
What thing is that?
Being alive and a parent
During the holidays.
During the holidays and during a time when your kid has activities 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
But she's learning how to fence and she's learning how to do saber, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, but we've had to turn down other opportunities because it's just too fucking much.
Yeah, I know. Is she going multiple times a week?
She does saber on Mondays and Wednesdays, and then she does Jewish school on Tuesdays and Sundays, and then she often has something on Saturdays. And it's like, please let this 2-week break that comes with the winter holiday at school come as soon as possible. So that we can just have nothing on our schedule. So.
Absolutely not. No, I get I have one thing going on in a week, and I'm like, I need a break.
Oh, and I'll be in Disneyland next Tuesday, so I won't be able to record.
Oh, well, we'll miss you.
Or in the air. Yeah.
Millie, what's going on?
Hey. Well, I know what you really want to know, which is how my fantasy teams are doing.
So give us the deets.
Well, I just want to say I missed you all last week. I got a chance to listen to the pod. Good stuff. Last week I lost my guillotine team. After deciding to finally humble brag about it. We all knew what was going to happen, and it happened. I got cut. And this week I was like, yeah, now watch, because my team's going to go off if I just stayed in one more week. Looking at a rankings list on Sunday, like I had 5 of the top 10 running backs somehow. I can't even play them all, right? This wealth of riches I would have had. And yet, when I look at how those players did, I mean, Jalen Waddle, who's that? He did nothing, right? I mean, left and right, the guys that I had on that team, Ramondre Stevenson, I would have probably been counting on him Monday night. He went out. Hopefully he's okay and can come back next week. But anyway, I think, you know what? I would have been cut no matter what. So you can't get too upset about it. In the end, the Hubs is still in it. So hopefully he can at least make back what we spent. Not that we spend money on fantasy football, because that's legal in Washington State. And my Folger Shakespeare team, we all knew that was in the toilet. But my defending championship, I have risen from the ashes with 4 straight wins. I'm in 3rd place, and I'm going to defend my title. They blew up that league because I was too good, and I'm going to come back and
You
know what is very true of fantasy football?
What's that?
Men hate losing to women. There is no, it's like it's misogyny central. It's like, how can I lose to this girl?
That's right.
It's that and March Madness.
Yeah.
Right? I think
Which
that's
Millie is
why
also
I do
pretty
my
good
trophies.
at. Yeah.
I have trophies in all of them.
Yeah.
They define me.
Yeah.
So hopefully the Fluffernutters will come back for their 4th win, their 4th championship. So go Fluffernutters.
We're rooting for you, Fluffernutters.
Thanks.
Yeah. So the Seahawks played the Carolina Panthers last week, and the Carolina Panthers did exactly what we were afraid they were going to do, and that was just do whatever they wanted with the run game. They ended up running for 220 yards. Is that what the final stat was?
232 yards.
Good God.
Yeah.
That's just
we had as many running yards as they had rushing attempts.
I think Sam Darnold only attempted like 16 passes. Like they were like, why give it to Sam Darnold when the Seahawks can't stop the run? And that's exactly what they did. The time of possession was so lopsided. It was 40 minutes to 20 minutes because they were able to just run and convert third downs because they were running. And it started like right away. Like first play of the game was like another 5 or 6 yard run. And I was like, oh boy, well, it's going to be that game. And it was. I am close to saying this season is cooked. I'm not sure I see a path to the playoffs. I'm not saying it's a bad team, but if you can't stop the run and you can't establish a run, you're not going to win many games. And we have some pretty tough games ahead of us. That said, I think that there is still some feistiness on that team. And I think the team does a lot of things well. And, we'll talk a little bit about the defense like we've been kvetching all season. But I also wanted to talk just about what is the team doing well and what are the things we can build on going into next season. Millie, do you have any thoughts?
Well, sure. I mean, first of all, let's just make sure we all tip our hats to to my favorite player, Tyler Tiptoe Lockett.
Oh man,
who
that
continues.
Was such a fabulous catch.
I mean, I saw this interview with Gino, and he was given props, and he was like, any other receiver, and you're not quite sure if you saw it, like, did he get in? I'm not sure if he was in. It's like, when it's Tyler, you just know he was. You don't even have to wonder.
Yeah.
And he is just, I just love it when he does the tiptoe. And he now has, 8 straight games with a touchdown.
Which is a franchise record. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he is now leading active players with touchdowns for number of seasons with 5.
Oh, wow.
He's just something special. And the receiving core in general, I mean, obviously DK is amazing, and Goodwin keeps showing up with these brilliant plays. And we've proven that our tight ends can really make a difference in a game, something we did not see on Sunday. I mean, Noah Fant, I think he got maybe 2 looks. He wasn't even involved really, as far as being a receiver.
Yeah.
And that was just, it was a disappointing game. I'm not going to pretend it wasn't, but our receivers continue to be great. And I was just looking at those stats for, we all know what the running game looked like, but passing yards were actually pretty phenomenal. The
passing game looked pretty good.
Passing game looked good. And the reality is, when you just have running back after running back going out, there's only so much you can do. I mean, we can all say rah for Homer and what's his name that I'm sorry, I just can't remember.
Tony Jones.
Yeah, Junior. I'll just call him Junior. They're trying, but it's not like they're getting a lot of huge gaping holes to run through or anything, right?
I would say that's been a regression. Would you agree?
Yes, but I mean, you don't have the same group of running backs every week.
Right? Yeah, you don't. I mean, you're down your best backs. 3. Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Totally.
It's they on the flip side though, as a defense, it's not like the Panthers had a lot of tape to go look at on these guys or what we were going to do with them. So we should have been able to get away with one or two here or there, and we couldn't really manage that either. It was not only can we not stop the run, we currently don't really have a running game.
Right.
So that makes it near impossible.
It's criminal
to do much with the rest of your season. But unlike you, I have not, strangely, as the person who still thinks that they'll win the least number of games, I haven't actually given up hope they make a playoff game. Do I think they could make it out of said playoff game? No. But
yeah, I'm not ready to say they won't make the playoffs yet, but I think their path to the playoffs is
it requires some other people
lot tougher.
And I watched the Lions, and I feel like that's the season we could have had.
Yeah.
When I see how they started to surge and gel and have these highlights and stars, but every week the scheme's just different enough that different players are being highlighted. I feel like that was the momentum we had and we lost it, and whereas they're getting theirs back. And so for me, it's like, if it's not the Seahawks, like, go Lions. I mean,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm actually rooting for the Lions. I love that story. They've been hapless, but I also just love a good underdog story, and Jared Goff, kind of resurrecting his career a little bit. Jared Goff quietly having a Pro Bowl season. Like, he's playing really well.
Well, as long as he's indoors, he's fine.
Right.
So I don't know if I would go as far as you are, but I think that they've got that thing that we all appreciate, and that culture, which, I mean, I was somebody who watched Hard Knocks preseason with the Lions, and I didn't buy into the coach, and I didn't buy in that this was looking real good, but he grabbed them enough and is building something. And
Yeah.
I have a lot of respect for that, because it seemed a little put on to me in the beginning, but I guess it's sincere and real enough.
Oh, it's super sincere. His first press conference with that team, he said he just wanted to get players who were ready to bite other teams' kneecaps.
Yeah.
That was the whole thing. Like, Dan Campbell's a trip. He's got that dog in him. And
He
that
does
whole
have that
team's
dog
got
in him.
that dog in him.
Yeah. What do you think, Allanah, if the Seahawks are going to make the postseason, and they have the issues that have been plagued them all season, which is, they can't stop the run and they are inconsistent in establishing the run, what's the path forward? How do they get into the postseason?
They go 8-9 and hope the other teams suck. Like, that's what I called at the start of the season. That's still on the table. They're probably going to get creamed on Thursday night. I do not have a lot of faith that they're going to win that game. They could go 9-8. Wait, they're 7-7 now, right? Or are they 7-6? 7-6.
7-6.
So they've got Niners, Chiefs, Jets, Rams remaining. Like, I could see them losing the next two and winning the two after that, and then they'd be 9-8 as opposed to 8-9. Still a successful season. The other thing that could happen, and just make this throw your hands up in the air weird season, is they could lose 4 times to the NFC South, and then lose to the Raiders and the Niners. Like, that could be their season too, which is like, what? Because I think it's arguable that the Niners, even with Brock Purdy, whatever his name is, even with Josh Johnson at QB, are maybe the best team in football. Like, not just the NFC. The way they run the ball is unbelievable. And so, like, we could lose to all of the teams in one of the worst divisions in the history of the NFL, and then beat everybody else. Like, that feels like the season that I want to end with,
Yeah. How weird would it be to lose against the NFC South and then beat the Niners and Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, that would be pretty unbelievable, but also pretty darn Seahawks.
That kind of seems like a season that the Seahawks are headed in.
Yeah.
I mean, chaos ball.
Right. But if they go, I still think they could easily go 9-8, like win 2 of the last 4. And I think that of the Giants and the Commanders, I mean, it really in battle for playoff contention with the Giants, the Commanders, and the Lions, they've got effectively a 2-game lead on the Lions because we beat them earlier in the year. Realistically, they have to go 3-1 for the rest of the season. I don't think they have a hard schedule, but I think that the Commanders and Giants, they both still have to play the Eagles yet this year, and I think they both have to play the Cowboys yet this year.
The Giants are in a free fall.
Yeah. So, like, I think the path of the playoffs is to just not totally, like, go 2-2 the rest of the way, finish 9-8, and then wait for 1 or 2 of those other teams to suck. 2 realistically. But if they go 2-2 and the Lions go 3-1, we're in over the Lions because we beat them
because we have the tiebreaker,
right? And so then if the Giants, and if we end up with the same record as the Giants, we beat them because we go head to head. So this idea that like the Jets and the Rams are winnable games. The Chiefs, who knows? Like probably not, but they're also not a team that's
vulnerable.
They're vulnerable. They're not, they will try to, sure.
Yeah.
But that's not their strength. That's not their game plan. That's not it is, I mean, the Jets game plan is like Mike White maybe, like, and defense.
Great defense and hope the offense doesn't suck.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they lost that running back early in the season. So, you know, I think 2-2 is realistic, and 2-2 gets you in the playoffs. Do they get out of the first round of the playoffs? No. Like they would probably end up playing actually they would probably end up against the 49ers. I mean, right now it'd be the Vikings. And they could beat the Vikings if we're being honest. Because the Vikings are all
it's
smoke
a
and
winnable
mirrors.
game.
Yeah. I'm not scared of the Vikings in any way, but what would probably happen is they get into the playoffs as the 7 seed, and then the Niners would end up with the 2 seed, and like it's another, what I'm predicting, like 30-5 or 30-3 game.
Yeah.
In the playoffs.
The Niners, this scare me. We'll talk about that later, but man, the Niners match up too well against the Seahawks. So Curtis, I have 2 questions for you. One, can the Seahawks fix this defense this season in the last, month? And what do they do next season to fix those issues?
I think it's possible they can fix it enough to where they're not hemorrhaging yards on the ground like they are right now. But I'm not super optimistic.
Yeah.
Because of this last 4-game stretch and what these offensive have done. And I can understand being surprised in Germany against the Bucks, thinking like Brady was going to throw all over the place and they weren't going to like hunker down. But after that should have been a tip to them after that game going in against the Raiders.
And they had a bye week after that.
And they had a bye week, and they knew that the Raiders were leaning in on their running back more than were the quarterback,
Mm-hmm.
But they focused in on Devontae Adams, and they didn't cue in on the fact that,
Josh Jacobs is a real one.
And then, and really just kind of like after that game, then they played the Rams, right? And they narrowly won that game against a Rams team that hadn't been running the ball particularly all that well up until that
started
game.
To. The difference in that game versus Carolina is they were able to make adjustments in that game that they didn't against Carolina.
They didn't really. They weirdly did not. And when Coach Carroll was pressed about it in his press conferences as to, is it players, is it scheme, is it this, is that? I mean, he sort of gave not really super solid answers to things. And so it was kind of hard to sort of parse it, but listening to other players, and I did sort of want to, like, Ryan Neal in particular gave a great press conference right after that game against Carolina. And he was just like, he was asked the same question. And he was just like, you know what? It's all of it. Yeah. Like, we knew what they were going to do. And we didn't bow up. We didn't stop it. Like, we knew exactly how they were going to attack us, and we couldn't get it done.
That's interesting.
And so it's kind of like, and then Carol was pressed, I think, the following day on like the Brock and Salk show about how, like, well, what can you do? Is it players? Is it scheme? Is it, and Brock was sort of leading with maybe it's the players, and Carroll was a little bit protective, and it's just like, no, there's things we could do scheme wise a little bit more, and I got to get more involved. And so we'll see what that means. And I kind of feel like I still believe that they sort of what they were doing in that 4-game stretch, they got away from a little bit more. I think that they were doing more. They went back to some, I'm not going to say all, but there was some 4-3 elements to what they were doing against the Cardinals and the Giants and such that like we just haven't seen out of the game against the Bucks and everything out of the bye. Like I feel like when I watch them doing the 3-4 stuff and even showing the bear, they're still like there's still only 3 guys with their hands in the dirt, and the 2 guys on the perimeter are stand up. And when you have it that way at the line of scrimmage and you're in that position of standing up, to like rush or stop the run, like you instantly give up a degree of leverage. Like a lot of your strength as an athlete in those positions is in your explosion off the line of scrimmage. It's in the lower portions of your body,
Well, isn't it a lot of like trying to beat them, but with speed, like get around
well,
them or get inside
I think
them?
I think there's if you're going to be like a heavy pass attack and you're coming off the edge in a stand-up sort of way, like there's an advantage there. But if you're going up against an offense that's going to run, it's like and it happens. It's just that, I mean, just, it's not just the running backs. I mean, it's like the guys blowing off the line of scrimmage are just getting right by those guys. And, and all of a sudden, like players that have been, in the past, really good players in the interior, like Puna Ford, are just getting blown off the line of scrimmage. And, somebody who I think is probably, probably like a marginal talent starter wise, and and Kobe Barton is just getting like bowed over, right? And so I guess in my sort of long roundabout way, I think there's things that they can do to tweak the defense enough to where they can stop the run enough, and maybe they can squeak out, they can split these 4 games and they can go 9-8 and get themselves into the playoffs. And that would be a great story, right? Like that would be awesome. I can also see them potentially losing out too, if they're not going to make these tweaks, because I'll tell you something, not being able to stop the run is like a death sentence in this league. Like it is really hard to win. You need to be almost like perfect on offense, and they're not perfect on offense because they're not running the ball. So
right.
It's like, I mean, they've got a good quarterback situation and they've got a nice receiver situation, but that's not going to be enough. That's, I mean, the Texans a few years back when, Deshaun Watson was putting up crazy MVP numbers, they had a losing season. He was putting up spectacular passing numbers, but
Drew Brees always had losing seasons too.
Yeah, I mean, there's just like you can put up great statistical passing numbers and be, losing because you're not doing anything. So you're not doing anything to stop the other team. And one of the hardest ways to stop the other team from scoring is if you can't stop the run game.
Yeah.
So I've been sort of patiently kind of like holding back my thoughts on this, but I'm sort of like, I'm at the point where I'm just oversaturated with watching bad offense, bad defense, bad running defense. I feel like they need to scrap the 3-4 altogether and just go back to the 4-3 that Carroll has always run for the whole course of his coaching career. And that doesn't mean that they have to do away with all the coaches that they brought in. It just means that those coaches have to accept that that's the best path forward. And I feel like other players, like Richard Sherman was in a press conference today because he's going to be a part of the game crew for Thursday Night Football. And so he met with reporters up here and down there, and he was asked about the 3-4, and he said blankly, it was just like, yeah, it's really hard. It's hard for this team to play this well right now because this is totally unfamiliar from anything Carroll's ever done. And he can't really step in and give insight if they're going to stay in this sort of scheme, because everything that he knows is what he's been doing for the last 30, 40 years, and is everything that we've done up until this point, and is everything that Dallas is doing, that San Francisco is doing, that the Jets are doing, because they're all doing his scheme. Like, he knows that scheme inside and out. So I feel like right now, if they wanted to make the decision after this game where they've got a little bit of mini bye, I feel like they've got players on this roster right now that they could show up against Kansas City and the Jets and the Rams at the end of this season and show that, and probably do better against the run significantly. Like, they could, like Poona Ford was a decent 4-3 defensive tackle, right? Like, he did pretty well at that spot. Shelby Harris, I think, is a good 3 tech. Last year for the Raiders, Quentin Jefferson was a good, interior defensive pass rushing defensive tackle. I mean, we had Patrick on this show on this last year, and he listed him as his favorite player, right?
Yeah.
And so he could do that, and he could play, the 4 tech, and I think Uchenna Nwosu could probably slide into that Cliff Averill role and be that sort of Leo pass end. And I think that they've got the bodies that could like shift into that next year, and they're going to have probably the 2nd overall draft pick where they could take, if the Texans take a quarterback, they can take this Jalen Carter guy who, I've been sort of going gaga over for a while, because you watch him on Saturdays and you watch the highlight tapes, and he looks like every bit of somebody who can be like a generational talent, at defensive tackle, like a Fletcher Cox, or like an Aaron Donald type, like somebody who's just kind of like unblockable and has just got all the tools to be like an all-pro player. But I think if they drafted him and had him in this 3-4, they wouldn't be maxing out his abilities.
Yeah.
So I just think they should dump it for that reason. And the other thing is because the football is it's a very cyclical thing. And for I would say the last, 8 or 9 years, everything's been this sort of spread attack, with, going, 4 outs and just spread and running out of this and stuff. And so top DVOA defenses tended to sort of be in that 3-4 mold. And it would have been a nice shift for Seattle to maybe try this, 5 years ago when McVay got to LA and what's his name down in Arizona was doing that and all this sort of stuff. But now offenses, the sexy thing to do right now is the Kyle Shanahan thing.
Yeah.
So the top DVOA defenses right now are all in the 4-3, and not just in the 4-3, but in Carroll's 4-3.
Right.
So this is another reason why I think this was a fun sort of not so fun experiment, to try for a year, but let's just dump it and let's go back to what the coach knows best.
Yeah. And it's not like the defense was great last season, but in the last few weeks it ended up being pretty good.
So here's the thing that came out that I saw come across my social media today. Last year at this time, Ken Norton's defense was the 11th best scoring defense in the league last year.
Right.
Right now, this Clint Hurtt defense is the 30th.
Yeah. Oof,
rough. They're at the bottom end.
What do you think happens to Clint Hurtt next season?
Well, Clint Hurtt doesn't necessarily have to go away. He's been the defensive line coach here for the last 5 years. He just has to sort of Like if Carroll wants to do this, he just has to sort of say like, okay, cool, well, I'll make the switch, right?
I guess it's just hard for me to watch what we've watched week over week and believe that in a, to me, I related to an office situation, right? Where the boss is like, this isn't quite working. Should we maybe try something different? No, give me a little more time. Give me a little more time. Give me a little more time. And at some point, it's like, okay, I've given you the time. We're not seeing a change and you're not listening to me. And usually that's when you go on probation and you don't have a job next year if you can't prove that you can pivot and do what your boss is asking you to do. So to me,
well,
I
he
feel
could be
like we're at
gone.
that
I mean,
point.
he could, yeah. I mean, Carroll has done this before. Like his first year in the league, he brought in a the offensive coordinator that he had. I forget his name, but he followed him from USC, and he was a pass happy play caller, and Carroll got sick and tired of watching Matt Hasselbeck throw the same go ball down the sideline, the fade, and seeing it getting swatted and getting picked and stuff, and he wanted him to run the ball more, and so he was a close personal assistant, friend, whatever you want to call him, and he fired him. He didn't adjust and stuff.
Well, Jay was the same way, very close colleague and guy Carroll liked, but if you're not going to produce, then got to ship out. I have a feeling that Carroll would give Clint at least another season, but I don't know. Who knows?
But I don't know if I have the fortitude. Like if I have to watch this defense,
oh man,
next year, it's going to be super tough. And I don't know. I mean, I don't see how. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
Either. The other reason why I'm curious about it too is just, we all were very interested in Desai last year. And so there is this opportunity of this person who's kind of waiting in the wings possibly as well. So that's what I guess I really want Hurt to show me something in these final games that makes me a believer in what he could do or what he could do after the draft, because right now we're looking like we got a number 2 pick. Like make me a believer in you, because I want to believe in you, but show me that you can adapt in some way.
Yeah, and I kind of it's possible Desai is somewhere else next season in like a coach job or something like that. Because
personally, I think the Desai thing is very weird to me because they brought
I agree. I don't know if I like it.
What's that?
I don't know if I like it. I think it's too many cooks in the kitchen. Yeah,
Hurt wanted him in because he was his buddy from Chicago, and he wanted to run the Vic Fangio thing, and Cy knew it, and so I don't know. It's just
I agree. It's tough to watch. I don't like watching my team get run on like they're getting run on. And it, it keeps the offense off the field. I was just looking at those numbers where, the time of possession was 20 minutes more than Seattle. If we had 10 more of those minutes, that's another 7 points.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
mean?
They
had over 70 plays.
That's ridiculous. That's just absurd.
No. Yeah. And I get it can all sit on Gino's shoulders, but when you don't have a running game and you don't have a running defense, sadly, you do have to be perfect, right? You can't throw 2 interceptions and almost 3. I mean, we were lucky it wasn't 3.
We were lucky that it wasn't 3.
It's beautiful when he threads a needle to DK, but it's not going to be there every time. And that's okay if you're scoring a lot of points. But some of the chances that were being taken, it was like, oh, we can't force this. We don't have enough points on the board to be forcing things.
I know. And I kind of feel like Gino has like he feels like there's an expectation that he has to make those plays. If his defense can't stop anything and he doesn't have a run game, then he has to make those
Right.
those risks, take those risks and make those throws.
It felt
Because
forced. A lot of it
Yeah.
felt very forced. Like, I don't have another choice because we've got to make this happen.
that's exactly how I feel. Yeah. I mean, most of his interceptions have come in these last 4 games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's desperation there that it makes me nervous.
Makes me nervous
I
too.
hope he continues to just shine through regardless of what the win-loss columns say.
Yeah. Well, even with those 2 picks, his QBR was still really good for and his quarterback rating not bad. Everything I'll keep saying this because I think like after a game like Sunday where Geno throws a couple picks that felt forced, everybody's like, uh-oh, there's the Geno Smith we thought was coming. No, that was not the Geno Smith you saw the first season with the Jets. That team did not lose because of Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Like that is not the reason why the Seahawks lost. Yeah. Well, let's talk about how they're going to do in a couple days on Thursday when the Niners come to town.
They're going to lose 30-10.
30-10 is what Allanah is
Slow
saying.
down at home, but
I have 2 minds of this. So Thursday games.
Don't overthink it, Dan.
I know. I have a prediction, but I also I was thinking about this. Well, I was more like you, Allanah, where I was like, oh, they're just gonna get crushed. It's gonna be like 27-7. And I do think it's gonna be like 24-17. I think that's what my prediction is going to be. But then I was also thinking, these Thursday games, they're always weird. It's always chaos.
They shouldn't be played.
Because they shouldn't be played. But
But
it turns into chaos.
Yeah.
And who benefits from chaos ball?
The Mariners.
Seattle teams. This is what I'm saying. So I'm still predicting 24-17, but I'm also saying I think there's a chance we might pull this one out.
And I will add to the, weird statistics of things. It's not quite the same numbers it was once upon a time, but we are in fact wearing action green jerseys.
That's right.
With
We're
navy
wearing
pants.
action green.
It's a fantastic combination.
That's
And
such
we all know how
such
well
a
we do
sexy
it.
3-0 in that combination.
Such a sexy combination.
So,
They're about to be 3-1 in that combination.
Yeah. Is Debo out for the season?
He's out for this game. He's may
He's
come
definitely
back
out for this game.
he
season,
could make
but
it back for
they're
the playoffs, but he has a high ankle sprain and a
Yeah.
sprained MCL.
Ooh.
That's
Yeah.
those are bad injuries for a player that does what he does. So
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm a little torn on my predictions too, because I recall when McCaffrey came over feeling like this is so stupid. Like, why? This is dumb.
I know they use him so well.
Like, what season, you fools? And now we're all the 49ers look like a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how the tide turns. But then they lose Garoppolo. But then Purdy looks pretty
have
good.
a Hollywood story. Yeah.
But then Purdy's a little banged up. He should be fine to play Thursday, but it's still, he was pulled because they were doing well, but he has an oblique thing and it was tightening up on him, and it's nothing like a soft tissue injury to really throw off your game on 4 days of rest. So there's a lot of weird chances that will be the excuse if Seattle wins, if you're a San Francisco fan. There's a lot of
that's fine.
excuses. But
Who's their number 4 quarterback?
Josh Johnson.
Josh Johnson.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
not bad. I mean, you could do worse.
With all of those weapons and an amazing run game
And that defense.
and a defense that can't contain the run, I also just don't see how we can get this done. But I'm rooting for chaos. But I think we do better than maybe we we should. And but I think they're going to crush us. So I've got us at 21-9 losing.
Yeah.
21-9.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Curtis, what are you thinking?
Seahawks win 24-23.
Wow.
I love it.
Is
Big
Gino
riot.
pulling it? Is he
Because
is he doing it
football's
last
weird.
minute?
And yeah, I kind of feel like, I don't know, there's a lot of pride on the line right now. And I think maybe this team does rally. They are looking like more likely Ken Walker's coming back, maybe for this one. And they get him out here, that might balance out the offense a little bit more. I'm just because I'm a true blue and green homer, I'm gonna say Carol spends, sleepless nights of overtime with Clint Hurtt and Sean Desai in that freaking film room, and tweaking and everything like that, and then they do something that just sort of surprises Shanahan. And Shanahan, I feel like weirdly Carol is inside Shanahan's head. Like there's just the win-loss record between these two coaches vastly favors Carol. I think he knows that offense. And I think that there's extra pressure, I think potentially on Shanahan whenever he plays the Seahawks. It's just the trends are historically Seattle has San Francisco's number. And so I'm gonna lean into
Seattle's
that.
the San Francisco Rams. Yeah.
Yeah. So
They
I'm going to
are
lean
the
into
San
it. And I'm going to do the
Francisco
homer
kryptonite.
thing, and I'm actually going to pick the Seahawks to pull off a minor miracle and beat the 49ers.
I would love that.
I love it. I can't do it to myself again, where I keep saying,
I know.
no.
I've got no emotional attachment to this prediction. I'm just throwing it out there as positive juju.
We need that positive juju. Because I'm with you, Millie. I just don't feel it.
I know, but I also I want it so bad, but I keep overriding my predictions because I listen to you dorks and I get my heart's like, yeah, actually we could do it. And I did that after telling you all that I have had a loss to the Panthers on my list for weeks. And then I still picked the Seahawks to win because I was like, yeah, no, yeah, you're right.
Do it.
We could do this.
If the Seahawks win this game Thursday night, they'll be 8-6, and the whole narrative around this team will completely reverse itself.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, my upset special is actually Kansas City. That's my upset special for us for the whole season has been that
I like that.
we have our own little Christmas Eve miracle. Pull it off in Kansas City. Now, I also think we're going to lose to the Jets, so it all balances out. But my season upset is Kansas City.
I fully believe that that a 9-8 team is getting into the playoffs.
Oh, I can see that.
And
I mean,
I wouldn't be surprised if two of them do.
No, I think if they can win next week, I think they're probably going to the playoffs. Yeah.
We often have their number. I really feel it.
It's Thursday. It's chaos. It's at home. I like it.
Just not in my prediction.
Well, the Seahawks couldn't get it done against their Panthers on Sunday, but you know who did get it done against the Panthers on Sunday? The Kraken. That's right. The Seahawks and the Kraken were playing two Panthers teams, so the Kraken got it done. The Kraken got it done 5-2, and that second goal the Panthers got was a garbage time goal in the last minutes of the third quarter. That was a fun game to watch. The Kraken broke a 3-game skid, and they came out and they looked like a contender. They played all 60 minutes and they dominated all aspects of that game. They were fast. They were taking their shots, and the shots they did take were going in. and they were tough. And Manny Beniers was the player of that game. He got the first goal, and then he got an assist. And then in the third quarter, the Panthers enforcer Lombard just laid a dirty hit on Justin Schwartz and just like boarded him against the glass. Just a dirty hit. Schwartz buckled, and Matty Beniers took no time to just start scrapping. He just went in there swinging. Matty Beniers is not a fighter. Like, he is not an enforcer. He's a 20-year-old kid. He's not a big guy. And he was going up against a guy who's known for scrumming. And Matty Beniers just skating in there, knowing he's probably going to lose that fight, but knew he had to do it to fight for his teammate. Was so fucking awesome. I cheered when I saw that, and I went, that's the team. That's why this team is good, because this team has their backs. And after the game, in the post game in the locker room, the coach came around and he gave the Davy Jones hat to Matty Beniers specifically, because Matty Beniers scrapped it up. Yeah. And the whole team gave him an applause. And I thought that is the kind of thing that will that'll bond a team. Like that team now knows, I can trust this guy. And just seeing that from, your young player who's, going to turn into a superstar. I thought that was friggin' awesome.
Beniers was already sort of winning hearts and minds here in Seattle, but the chatter that I've seen during and since that game, he's truly won them all over now. It's not just, he's rookie, I guess, whatever. Now it's
totally.
Like, he's the heart of this team, and just everyone has really rallied around both fans and players with this kid. It's pretty great to see.
I think it's super fun.
They did lose today, but they're still second in the division.
They did, and the Kings also lost. The Kings got their butts kicked too. There were a lot of upsets today. Hockey is like that. I'm not worried yet. It goes like that. Vegas had, a skid like that too, and then they're back to, doing what they do. We'll see. We were talking about this before the pod, but the Kraken still has some weaknesses, goaltending specifically being one of them. But they're still, they've got one of the top 5 offenses in the league. They're top 10 in the league right now. They're second in their division. This team is probably going to the playoffs. And that's exciting in your second season. And they're not even playing Shane Wright yet. Their number 1 draft pick, and he just got a loaner into Canada to play their, I don't know, they've got a youth World Cup. I don't know, something like that. Canada hockey. I don't know. I don't understand these hockey rules of like, you can have our player here, how much you want him for. You like renting your players out. I don't understand that yet. But yeah.
So wait, it's not their own minor league team. They've just they got them out.
Yeah, they loaned them out.
Yeah, it's more like soccer, and they loan them out.
Totally.
And he's playing for Team Canada.
Oh.
Yes.
For like another NHL team. He's playing for Team Canada.
So he's like Jamie Tart right now.
Yeah.
He's Jamie Tart.
He's been tarted.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm having fun. Go Kraken. Super fun.
I'm looking forward to getting to some more games, because those games are fun.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm in. You want to get into some dorking?
Sure.
Let's dork out about some stuff. Who wants to go? Millie, you want to dork out? What are we dorking out about?
Yeah, sure. Well, kind of 2 different things. I just started Wednesday. I think we've seen maybe 3 episodes, and I'm fully on board. A lot of folks said they, binge this show in a weekend, and it's so great. And I was a little like, and the Hubs wanted to check it out. And I thought for sure he'd be a one episode and you can watch this without me, but he is 100% on board as well too, which is always
Nice.
fun to get to
Yeah.
share these dorky shows together. It's cool. It's a young mystery with a
Mhm.
lot of sort of strange supernatural side effects. I'm not entirely sure how much of this sort of sticks to I guess, canon, if there is really a canon for the Addams family.
They were basically family circus in the New Yorker in the 50s and 30s to 50s. So like the idea of canon with the Addams family, just throw it out the window. You can do whatever you want with those
Great,
characters.
because I'm like, wow, I didn't recall them having supernatural abilities really, but why not?
This is the Wednesday
not?
show.
Yeah, Wednesday. And and in this version there's sirens and werewolves and vampires and I forgot
Love
whatever the heck she is. But they're all outcasts at the Nevermore Academy, and there's some sort of family history. It's very young and very fun, and it's very right up my alley, in the same way that the reboot of Nancy Drew was. Like, I really enjoy the heck out of that. And I also it is that time of year, so I'm digging into my my holiday movies, so you don't have to. And I finally have joined the cult and have my very own Apple TV account. And right before we recorded tonight, I got to watch Spirited. And wow, it really won me over. It's a lot of fun. It is a musical. For anyone who didn't know it's a musical, it's a musical. And I kind of at first thought it was just a new version of Scrooged. But it's not. At first I thought that's what was happening. I was just like, okay, I'd rather watch Bill Murray. Like, and then it took a turn that I really enjoyed. And by the end of it, I was like, all right, it's silly, but I think, it's worth your time. It's a feel good movie for the cynic in us all.
I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
It didn't hit me in quite the same way it did you. For me, the best part of it was Will Ferrell being at Octavia Spencer's Hollywood Walk of Fame star ceremony and shutting down a heckler who was there to bother Octavia Spencer. Because why would that? So like they built a bond and he stood up for her in that moment, and like, awesome. Like that's great. I'm glad you have that bond now. But the movie itself, yeah.
I read about that, and that I know at first but I hadn't seen the movie yet, so I was kind of like, I didn't know that was like the person she would have at her Hollywood star, dedication ceremony. Like, what is that about? And then you see the movie, and they have a whole thing. It's a love interest, which I really enjoyed that plot line. I could have enjoyed more of that plot line. They spent a lot of time on musical numbers that probably could have been better spent on some character development, and more scenes of Christmas Past, I think. But it's fun.
Yeah, she didn't get a lot.
Well, neither did the niece or the sister. All of it. I mean, it was very surface. I would still take Bill Murray, Scrooged, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still that would still be way higher on my personal list than this one, but it's something new, so it's fun. I liked it.
Yeah,
I got quite a few more on my list, but I haven't gotten to them yet.
That's awesome. I saw pictures of the guy who played Thing. So Thing wasn't CGI, it was a guy's actual hand, and they just put him in a green suit, except with like the hand exposed. And there are some great pictures of just him like hugging close to Wednesday, with Thing on her shoulder, or just like curled and cramped into weird positions where he can like put his hand on things. And It amused me.
Thing
I
is
also just
a-
loved that Thing was actually like, it's so easy just to make Thing like a CGI, but to make it just a guy in a green suit with a hand, I love
Well,
that.
and Thing is a really big character. So I remember, I saw that too, and I was like, oh, cool. Like they got a real hand model. That's
Yeah.
great, a hand actor. But Thing is a huge character in the series.
I love that. That's awesome.
It's basically her companion. So
it's like Harry has an owl, Wednesday has Thing.
but I'd say Thing's a lot more involved. So in all the activities actually. So it's pretty fun, and Thing also occasionally signs which is pretty
awesome.
cool.
Yeah.
Does the dialogue get better after episode 1? Because the blonde, the like diva princess of the school I was just like, can you just not? Like, this is awful. This dialogue was written by a 9-year-old. And my kid was like, that's some bad dialogue. And she is 9. So like, I really liked the world that was being created. I have a like problem with Tim Burton overall.
Yeah.
I think he's a piece of shit. I really like that dance scene. I haven't watched anything outside of, like, I've seen the dance scene out of context and it's fabulous.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to that part yet.
But we haven't watched episode 2 yet. So like,
I think it gets better. I think it's also, we lose the family and get more into the kids and their dynamics
And the mystery.
Yeah, there's some clunky, kid to kid dialogue for sure. But so far I'm looking past it.
she's perfectly cast though. Jenna
She
Ortega
is
is
perfectly cast.
perfectly cast.
I like all the actors in those roles. Luis Guzman as Gomez.
Mhm.
That looks great to me. Catherine Zeta-Jones. I think I love all that. I think that's great. Allanah, what are you dorking out about?
So this is my time of year to make my top 10 list for the year. And I finished White Lotus on Sunday night.
I have
And
yet
was
to
like,
start it, but I'm looking forward to it.
I was geared. I was like, okay, I've seen them all now. Like I know that I'm not going to finish Fleischman before the year ends. So I'm not going to, like, I'm going to hold out on that, but whatever. And then I started like the next day yesterday started This Is Going to Hurt, starring Ben Whishaw, which is about a doctor in the NHS, and it's like hilarious, and its two modes are hilarious and devastating. Like, and it just goes back and forth between those two modes. It leans more into the hilarious, but the devastation is devastating. And it's like a perfect tonal balance for me. Like that's where I want to live. I want you to make me laugh, and then I want you to just punch me in the face and make me bawl.
The Bear was really great about that.
Yes, exactly. That's why the Bear is my number one of the year. That's why likely. That's why Barry is in the top 3, because again, those are two shows that will make you laugh and then will kick you in the face and you'll lose teeth. So I'm now like, well, shit, now I have to finish this show so I can see where it fits, because I get the feeling just from how it's made and the performances and the storytelling and the fact that it's about gynecology and it's an OBGYN in a hospital. I was obstetrician. And the Ben Wishaw's performance is pretty magical.
He's great.
Yeah. And so like, now I'm like, okay, now I need to finish this series before I can make that determination. So
what network is it?
AMC Plus, I'm watching it on Prime.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. I must have signed up for AMC Plus so I could watch Kevin Can Fuck Himself. But I didn't finish that and probably forgot to unsub.
As that happens.
Yeah. But the other thing that I'm dorking out about is just I'm going to movies in the theater. I have a friend who likes to go to movies in the theater. And we have gone to see Tar, which I mentioned here. And then this last week we were planning on going to see The Fabelmans, but they didn't advertise that they weren't showing it on the night we went. And so we showed up for an 8:30 and they were like, nope, it's not happening. And we're like, okay, fine, we'll see the menu. And I fucking loved it. I loved the menu.
I want to see that so bad. I have to see that.
Wasn't it so good?
It was great.
Didn't I say? Come on.
Yes, you did.
It's so
Yeah,
good.
I
Okay,
knew
I
I
see.
was going to see it before you mentioned it, but like it was, the way it's calls out chef and foodie culture is just beautiful. And the balance of the whole thing is very good. So it was very entertaining. I liked it a lot. So
Nice.
beyond that, not dorking on much. I'm sure I'll have more soon.
Curtis, what are you dorking on about?
I finished the Western series, The English, on Amazon Prime.
Did it stick the landing?
Yeah, I think so. It was it had some nice twists to it. Yeah. I think Emily Blunt was terrific. The actor that played the native Union Scout pal was tremendous. Yeah, it had some really interesting twists too. And it was it kind of it didn't pull any punches. Like there were some pretty intense moments where I was just like, oh, they went there. Okay. And I kind of like that. So and like I've said previously, I'm a fan of a good Western, and it kind of has me. I think last night I was surfing around Prime, just looking at different sort of options for Westerns and things like that, and going like, oh yeah, sort of thing, like things that I haven't seen in like forever, that I think I remember seeing like in syndication when I was in like middle school and shit, that I'm gonna look at again. Spaghetti Western stuff.
Oh, I'm
Kind of I'm in a Western mood. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of spaghetti westerns. I grew up on that.
Yeah. There's one with Henry Fonda that my brother has always raved about, that I've actually never seen, called The Man with No Name.
Oh yeah,
mid-70s with Terrence
Good
Hill, and I
stuff.
think that might be a Sergio Leone production.
I think it is.
And I have never seen it, and I am definitely going to probably watch it tomorrow night.
You should. That's good stuff.
I'll report.
I am dorking out about, so the sequel to Knives Out came out, Glass Onion, and I am a big fan of the whodunits, as is my mother, and I saw Knives Out when it came out in 2019, and I loved it. And so I have dinner with my parents a couple times a month, and then we always watch something like a movie or something like that. And I was like, we should watch, Knives Out. I think you would get a kick out of it, and then we could watch the sequel. And so I watched Knives Out with my parents, and I loved it when it came out in the theater, and I just forgot how good that movie was and how much I'm looking forward to Glass Onion. As a fan of whodunits, it just like hits all the buttons, and Daniel Craig is delightful, but like so is everybody in that movie, and like Don Johnson just coming out of nowhere and being excellent. It's just man, I forgot.
Glass Onion is fabulous.
Is it?
It's better than Knives Out.
I can't wait, and it's also got a stacked cast.
Yes, in a different way. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it. I think Netflix is doing like 5 of them or something stupid like that.
They've only got 3 right now.
3 of them, man.
Yeah.
I'm into it. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. That's
Are
what I'm talking
they
about.
now, Allanah, you caught it in that like 1 week in the theater, right?
Yes.
They did. And I didn't realize it was truly only 1 week. So I was gonna go see it. I was like, oh, you teases, you really did kind of do what they said they were gonna do. I wasn't sure they'd really do it. And so does it come back in both theaters and Netflix?
No, just
You know,
Netflix.
or just Netflix?
Ryan Johnson is trying to get it back into theaters. Basically, what happened was Ryan Johnson signed a $400 million deal to make 2 more Knives Out movies for Netflix. And then Netflix was going to use those movies to help drive up subscriberships, which why wouldn't they, of course. And then Ryan Johnson was, after signing the deal, like, well, but maybe we could release it into the theaters because I'm someone who, I really think it should be in the theaters. And then Netflix was like, okay, you're Ryan Johnson and everybody loves you, so we'll say yes. And so they released it for a week, and then it just did gangbusters in that week that it was out. And then Netflix was like, all right, we promised we'd give you 1 week. And then he was like, well, maybe we can do a little more. And so now he's asking, he's like, maybe we can release it in February. Like, just I want people to see it on the big screen.
It would be weird being in that position as Netflix going like, we could make a shitload of money releasing in theaters, but also this is our leverage for subscribers.
Yeah, they can make
by making it exclusive. More. Yeah.
So, it's a really tough spot, but you know, Netflix killed movie theaters, and Netflix and HBO killed movie theaters. And the pandemic, but. Splitting hairs.
And the shitty movies coming out in movie theaters.
Well, the only reason they're coming out of movie theaters is because their movie theaters are dead. Like, I mean, that's a problem. You know, it's totally, it's capitalism that's the problem. Let's not split hairs.
Capitalism. Yeah. Thanks for ruining everything, capitalism.
Yeah.
That's all I got. Anybody dorking out about anything else?
I nailed Hanukkah this year. I absolutely fucking nailed the gifts that I got Beth. So, and the kid.
I have not started any of that. Can I tell you? Can I be honest? Can I be honest with the 3 of you and our 12 listeners?
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm kind of bah humbug this year.
Good.
I'm just not feeling it. Yeah.
I've been there for
You don't need it. You don't need to be any particular way.
Thank you.
During this season. And if someone calls you a Scrooge or a Grinch or a bah humbug, they can go fuck themselves.
That's what I was going to say. Can I just tell them go fuck themselves?
Yeah. Because it's like, why do I have to ascribe to your standards of what this time of year means?
Thank you.
It's depressing. It's dark. It's cold. It's wet.
Just the consumerism just like makes me sick. The whole thing.
I honestly love the weather this time of the year.
I was talking to a friend of mine. This is all I want. Like on Christmas, I don't want the gifts and all of that. This is what I would love. I show up. There's just like a giant charcuterie board, and we all just like eat, drink, and be merry all day. And like maybe I can take a nap. That's all. That's like yeah.
What I want,
without the expectations, because I hate Thanksgiving too.
What I want for Christmas is I want to roll out of off the couch, hungover, turn on the TV, watch basketball for 12 hours straight, and then get delivery Chinese that's like good Szechuan with that heavy mollusk seasoning.
You're speaking my language, Allanah. This is what I'm talking about.
I loved that before I got married to a Jew, and now it's just like that's what we do on Christmas.
Now that's the tradition.
Yeah,
that's it. I'm going there. I'm going to become culturally Christmas Jewish. That's my identity from here on.
Get it?
Yeah. All right. Hey, if you're listening to this and you like what you hear, you should hit the subscribe button wherever you're listening to it. We're on, I don't know, Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Google and all that other nonsense. And if you can't find us wherever you're listening to it, let us know and we'll join it. While you're at it, you should read Curtis's blog, 12life.com. He's always got some good stuff on there. He doesn't pull any punches. You know, if he sees something that he doesn't like, he's going to let you know. And Pete Carroll and John Schneider and Jody Allen, if you're out there, you should read 12thlife.com.
You
There's some
should. There's a
tips
very
on that.
special letter that he's written just for them this week.
Yeah. All right. Once more, my name is Daniel for Curtis, Allanah, Millie, the rest of the 12s saying goodbye and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.